This video is on how to grade a student paper. First of all, you're going to click on the link for the assignment. You'll see at the top part we have the title, the start date, when students could start submitting, the due date, when they have to have it turned in, and then post date is when they can start seeing the grades. This assignment should be worth 20 points, so I'm going to change that here just by clicking on the gray pencil like that. And then you'll see below you have a list of students. It shows the submission title, the Turn-It-In paper ID when it was submitted, similarity. Now the similarity is very high because I am using two papers for us as examples that have already been loaded multiple times. So one is 95 and one is 98% plagiarized. Obviously, you would be calling that student into your office or reporting them to the professor that you're grading for so that we can have a talk about plagiarism. For right now, we're going to ignore it. To grade, you can see that we are going to click on the blue pencil. The blue pencil takes it into Turn-It-In grading as most of us know it, so that's comforting. If you would like the print to be bigger on the computer, you can scale it down here at the bottom by changing the zoom level. Not necessary, but you can. Anything in purple here has been done by the automatic grammar checker in Turn-It-In. If you don't like what it's done, then you would just delete it. So in this case, it thinks we need the word the in front of journal, so I'm just going to dismiss that, and you can see that it erases it. Now this happens to be an APA citation, so I'm going to check for last name, first initials, comma, last name, first initials, comma. This symbol, the ampersand, always needs to be before the last author. The year is in parentheses, period after the parentheses. What makes a successful venture is the title of the article. Notice that this is all in lowercase and should be in plain font. We have some problems with the title of the journal in that number one, the title of a journal in APA should be italicized. Number two, the student obviously copied this out of EBSCO, and I know that because the word of has been capitalized. This should be lowercase since it's just a two-letter word, and it should also all be italicized. So right away, those are two mistakes. Now, how do we actually make that mark on this electronic document? Over here, we can go to our honors marks, and there are lots of APA boxes over here, just letting you know. This one is cap error, which is just capitalization. So when I put that there, I can also associate a criteria. Now this criteria is based off the rubric that's attached. So you want to mark whether it's wrong because it's a bad source, is it the citation that's wrong, the summary, etc., etc. Obviously this is the citation and that's where the mistake is. And I just leave it like that and click somewhere else and it will kind of go away. This helps me to grade the rubric later, as you'll see. Okay, so we took care of the cap error, but it still is not italicized, so that's an issue. Okay, down here there's a box for title italics. So a journal or a book title should be in italics. I just moved that up here. Again, the criteria is citation, and then I just move away from it and we're done with that. It is missing the DOI or a URL at the end. I have a button for DOI or URL. We stick that at the end. Citation. Also, the 3 on this should be italicized, so I might have to move my little boxes over. Don't worry, that doesn't mess anything up. I have a button for volume italics. I put that here. Make sure that you associate the criteria. Okay. It has the permalink. Okay, so something I want to say about this permalink is that Number one, we can dismiss all the spelling because it's all wrong. I mean, no, that's not the logical spelling. But anyway, see, I've highlighted this and I'm going to click on it. This is actually correct. So I'm going to click on green. Now, as graders, whenever a student uses EBSCO and they give you a permalink, the permalink should have this ehost-live, and that lets you know that that is the correct permalink. That only works in EBSCO, but I'm going to tell the student that this is correct. Now, I don't put a criteria when it's good because I don't want to count off for it. I just click Save. Okay, the summary. You'll read through this and actually try and at least scan through the article, make sure that you understand what the article's about so you know if the summary is good or not. Okay, so the first sentence should tell us what the article was about, and it does do that. So I'm going to highlight the first part, click it, make it green. I encourage you to give them good, solid, positive feedback. They need that. Okay, now the problem is that here we have some fluffy language in an attempt to gain insight. So what I would probably say is this study was an attempt to gain insight. And I'm going to make this pink because this is fluff. I don't count off for fluff, but I do let them know it's there. When I see a sentence where they've given good details, I try and encourage that. Again, don't associate a criteria. Okay, the evaluation is where things get tougher. We are looking for whether the study was done correctly, what the methodology is. We are looking for the authors and do they have degrees in that field? Are they still working in that field? Have they published anything else? Is there a ranking for the journal? How many times the article has been cited? A lot of different things that we're going to look at here. I hate it when they say countless factors. Really? They really can't be counted? Okay, now this sentence as a whole is very wordy and clunky, and this is a business person, so they should be writing better than this. So I'm going to highlight the whole sentence and tell them to rewrite it. In this case, I'm going to make it yellow. There is a box over here where you can just put wordy. So actually I'll show you how to do that too. You can just drag this over here and then you can highlight this whole sentence and make it yellow so they know it's wrong. This sentence adds nothing to the conversation. Okay, it's a good start with the author, and that's probably the best start that most people will make on their first draft, but it's not good enough. We need to know what else this person has written, and we need to know has he been cited very much or not. I'm going to use the same thing for the second and third author, but I'm only counting off once because it's one mistake and they don't know yet. Notice I'm not putting a criteria, I'm just saving it. There's nothing here about the journal, so there's really no good place to click, so I'm just clicking somewhere and then I'm going to ask them for more information about the journal. Notice I'm telling them where to go to get that information, so hopefully this is a learning experience, not just a comment. The assessment is really easy, but the students make it hard. So we want to know how they're going to use it in their thesis and where they're going to use it in the thesis. Anything else is just fluff. Now, notice they've given us some information that is kind of how they might use it, but they're not saying how in terms of beam, which is background, exhibit, argument, or method. So I'm just going to prompt them to write it in that way next time around. And yes, I'm going to check it off, count off for it. Remember, be harder on the drafts. They can take it. Okay, so it may look like I'm being a little hard on them here. I'm asking them where they will use the information. Now, because it's their first draft, I'm also giving them some clues. So in your introduction, they tend to default to introduction, honestly, if they don't know. But I'm also asking them, you know, or if you're going to have a specific chapter, what's that chapter going to be on? So don't just tell me that it's going to be in a chapter. You have to say what the chapter is going to be about. Also, if they put the body of the paper, mark it wrong, because the body is like most of the paper, so that just doesn't count. They really need to be specific. And so again, we are going to count off for this. All right, I didn't see any mechanics, so I'm not going to count off there. Really, pretty much everything that was in purple I took out. Okay, now we're going to go to the rubric, and you're going to see why I was careful to mark everything as we were going through. So you can see the rubric is kind of already done for you because there was nothing wrong with the source. It is a scholarly journal that would be appropriate for this assignment, so they're going to get full credit. They're going to get a 3. However, on the citation, they made 4 mistakes, so we're at 0 with citation. Okay, so that's why we only mark what is wrong. Don't mark something if it's right. Summary, did I really think that? Yeah, summary, they were mostly just too wordy. So for now, I'm going to let that go. Or honestly, on draft 2, I might be more picky about the summary just to get them to be more concise and to give me a few more details. I'm always on them about details. More details, more details. A thesis just has to be full of details. Evaluation, obviously they don't really deserve 1, but that's the lowest score. Assessment, that's going to put them down at 1. And then mechanics, they get full credit because they did that right. So when you pull this down, and you can click on these little bars and pull it down, you'll see this person got a 60%. To get that to show for the student up here at the top, you click Apply Rubric Percentage to Grade. There it is. The easiest way to keep going with your grading is then to click the arrow for Next, and it will take you to the next paper. Okay? So that's how grading works. I hope that helps you. I'm sorry it was slow and tedious, but I hope you got an idea of what I do and why I do it. Be blessed.